Hey, everybody, and welcome to your personalized deep dive.
All right.
Today, we're going to be tackling manifestation,
Ooh.
which is a term that's kind of exploding right now.
It really is.
But the interpretations of it seem all over the place.
You do? Yeah.
Our source material today is a really fun episode of the podcast, The Bro Chat.
Okay.
Their hosts, Alex and Jake, were grappling with the same question we are, which is, are guys really manifesting their dreams or just finding a fancy new word for procrastination?
Interesting.
So let's dive in and see what you think.
Sounds good.
So Alex and Jake, the Bro Chat hosts, started off just as confused as like anyone else.
Yeah.
They were hearing manifestation everywhere, but couldn't figure out if it was legit or just like, a way to sound cool while chilling on the couch.
I think that's a question a lot of us are asking these days.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Jake did offer up a definition during the episode.
Okay. All right. He said manifestation is men visualizing their goals, and then the key part, putting energy towards achieving them. So it's not just positive thinking,
right,
but also taking action.
Exactly. And that's where I think the Bro Chat hosts got a little concerned because they were seeing a lot of examples of what they called couch manifestation, where someone's claiming to manifest their dream job, but they haven't even updated their resume.
Right. Like, it's one thing to visualize a six-pack.
Exactly.
But you're not going to get one by just thinking about it.
Exactly.
You still have to hit the gym.
You still got to hit the gym.
You got to put in the work.
And the Bro Chat guys even wondered if social media might be making this worse.
Oh, interesting.
All those inspirational quotes and the universe has your back messages could be backfiring and making people think that action isn't necessary.
It's interesting because the idea of believing in yourself and your goals is incredibly powerful.
Right.
There's even research showing that athletes who visualize themselves winning actually perform better.
Really?
Yeah, it's called self-efficacy.
What is that?
So it's basically believing in your ability to succeed.
Okay.
And in this study, researchers found that athletes who regularly visualized their success had a stronger sense of self-efficacy, which in turn led to them pushing harder and ultimately performing better.
Wow.
It's like their mental picture became a blueprint for their actions.
So there's like actual science behind this?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So it's not just about like feeling good, but like...
It's about shaping your reality through both thought and action.
Okay, so visualizing winning a race or nailing that presentation.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Makes sense.
But what about other areas of life?
Yeah.
Can you manifest, say, your soulmate?
That's where things get a little more complicated.
Okay.
You can't control other people's feelings.
Right.
Or win the lottery through sheer willpower.
Right.
But you can use visualization to clarify your own values and goals in relationships, or to develop a stronger work ethic that might lead to financial success.
So it's more about using visualization of like a tool for self-discovery and motivation.
Yeah.
Rather than like a magic spell.
Right. It's about aligning your actions with your aspirations.
Okay.
And this actually touches upon something that the Bro Chat hosts were wrestling with.
Okay.
Is this manifestation thing?
Yeah.
This is a trendy rebranding of age-old concepts like goal setting and positive thinking.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is interesting.
I mean, we've always been told to believe in ourselves and go for our dreams. So is manifestation just a new way of saying the same thing?
Right.
Or is there something more to it?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it?
It is.
And one we'll continue exploring as we go deeper into this deep dive. But I think it's important to consider the power of language and how a new term, even if it echoes older ideas, can capture the zeitgeist and inspire people in a fresh way.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a bit of both. A new label for some timeless wisdom, but also something that's tapping into a specific cultural moment.
Yeah.
But before we go further down that rabbit hole, I want to take a step back and consider something else. The Bro Chat episode made me think about the word manifestation itself.
Yeah.
It's obviously rooted in man. So is there a gendered aspect?
Oh, that's a really insightful observation.
Yeah.
And it's something that wasn't directly addressed in the episode we're analyzing.
Right.
But it definitely raises some interesting questions.
Like, does the language we use around personal growth and goal setting impact how we approach those concepts?
Yeah, exactly.
What happens if we replace manifestation with a more gender-neutral term, like positive visualization or active dreaming?
Yeah.
Does the underlying message change?
Right.
Or does it become more accessible to everyone?
That's a brilliant point.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if using more inclusive language could open up these ideas to a wider audience and empower individuals from all walks of life to tap into their full potential.
I'm thinking on to something big here.
Maybe.
And this actually leads us perfectly into a question for you,
all right,
our listener.
Okay.
What are your initial thoughts on manifestation?
Yeah, what do you think?
Does the term itself resonate with you, or does it feel limiting in some way?
And while you're pondering that, here's another question to consider.
Okay.
Do you think the association with man in the word manifestation makes it more or less appealing?
Ooh.
Or is it irrelevant to the concept itself?
Such great food for thought.
I know, right?
We'll be back after a short break to delve deeper into the potential downsides of this manifestation trend.
Ooh, good.
Because let's face it,
yeah,
no concept is without its shadow side.
Very true.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into manifestation.
As we were discussing the gendered aspect of the term, it really got me thinking about the power of language to shape our perceptions.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is how a seemingly simple word choice like manifestation can spark such a diverse range of interpretations.
Right.
Some people hear empowerment while others hear excuse-making.
Exactly. It's like the word itself is a Rorschach test.
Oh, I like that.
Revealing as much about our own biases and beliefs as it does about the concept itself.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if using a more inclusive term might actually open up the conversation in a more productive way.
Yeah.
Making these concepts more accessible and less loaded.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the theory of manifestation.
We have.
But let's get down to brass tacks.
Okay.
Have you come across any real-world examples of this in action?
As I was prepping for this deep dive, I actually stumbled across a study on the impact of visualization techniques on athletes.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So it turns out that athletes who regularly visualize themselves performing successfully actually show measurable improvements in their performance.
Wait, so it's not just about feeling good, it's actually translating into tangible results.
Precisely. The study found that visualization helps athletes develop a stronger sense of self-efficacy.
Ah, there's that word again.
Yeah.
So it's like they're mentally rehearsing for success,
right,
which then boosts their belief in their ability to actually achieve it.
Exactly. And that belief in themselves, that self-efficacy, allows them to push harder, persevere through setbacks, and ultimately reach their goals.
So in a way, those athletes are kind of manifesting their success through a combination of mental imagery and physical effort.
Right.
It's like the mental training gives them an edge.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of how the power of visualization, when combined with action, can lead to real measurable results.
Okay, so we've got athletes visualizing their way to victory. What about other areas of life?
Yeah.
Any examples of manifestation at work in, say, careers or relationships?
Absolutely. Think about entrepreneurs, for instance.
Okay.
Many successful entrepreneurs will tell you that they vividly imagined their businesses thriving long before they saw any actual signs of success.
Right.
They had that clear vision, and they held on to it even when things were tough.
So they had that unwavering belief in their vision.
Yes.
And that helped them to stay the course and overcome obstacles.
Exactly.
It's like they manifested their success by refusing to give up on their dreams.
Precisely. And that brings us back to the importance of belief, not just in the concept of manifestation, but in yourself and your ability to achieve what you set out to do.
Right. It's like that old saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly. Your mindset and your beliefs about yourself have a huge impact on shaping your reality.
Okay, so we've covered athletes and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But what about relationships? Can you manifest your soulmate?
Well, that's where things get a little trickier.
Okay.
While visualization can be a powerful tool for personal growth and setting intentions, it's important to remember that relationships involve other people.
Right. You can't just will someone into loving you.
Exactly. However, what you can do is use visualization to clarify your own values and what you're looking for in a partner.
So it's more about aligning yourself with what you want.
Right.
Rather than trying to control external factors or other people.
Precisely. And by being clear about what you want, you can make more conscious choices and perhaps attract the right kind of people into your life.
So it's not about magic, but about self-awareness and intentional action?
Exactly.
But, thinking about all these examples, athletes, entrepreneurs, relationships, it seems like there's a common thread running through them all.
I see where you're going with this.
It's like, at its core, manifestation is about harnessing the power of belief. Whether it's belief in yourself, your vision, or your ability to achieve something, that belief seems to be the driving force behind it all.
That's a brilliant insight, and it connects back to what we were discussing earlier about the potential limitations of the term manifestation itself.
Right.
Perhaps by focusing on the broader concept of belief, We can move beyond a trendy buzzword and tap into something truly universal and empowering.
I love that. So instead of getting hung up on the semantics of manifestation, maybe the real question is, what do you believe in?
Yeah.
And how can you align your actions with those beliefs to create the life you want?
Powerful questions indeed, and ones that I think deserve further exploration, speaking of which.
Oh, right. We promised our listener a deeper dive into the potential downsides of this whole manifestation trend.
Yeah, we did.
Because let's be real, no concept is without its shadow side.
Absolutely, and that's where things can get a bit murky.
Okay.
Because while the idea of manifesting your dreams can be incredibly inspiring,
right,
there's also the potential for it to be misused or misunderstood.
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, using manifestation as a way to avoid taking responsibility for your actions or blaming the universe for your shortcomings.
Exactly. And there's also the risk of falling into a trap of what's often called toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity.
Yeah.
I've heard that term thrown around.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean?
It's the idea that you have to be positive all the time.
Okay.
Even when you're facing difficult challenges.
Okay.
It's like putting on a happy face and pretending everything is fine when it's not.
So it's not about authentic positivity, but rather about suppressing negative emotions.
Right.
Or ignoring real problems.
Precisely. And that can actually be quite harmful.
Yeah.
Because it prevents you from processing your emotions in a healthy way and from addressing the root causes of your struggles.
So it's important to acknowledge the full spectrum of human experience.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and everything in between.
Right.
We can't just manifest away our problems or pretend they don't exist.
Absolutely, authenticity and vulnerability are just as important as positivity and optimism.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential for avoidance toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Are there any other pitfalls we should be aware of?
One that comes to mind is the danger of setting unrealistic expectations.
Okay.
While it's great to dream big, it's also important to be grounded in reality.
Right, you can't just manifest $1 million overnight or suddenly become a world-famous musician without putting in the years of practice and dedication.
Exactly, and when people set unrealistic expectations and then inevitably fall short, it can lead to feelings of disappointment, discouragement, and even self-blame.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between dreaming big and staying grounded in what's actually achievable.
Precisely, and that requires a healthy dose of self-awareness, critical thinking, and a willingness to adjust your expectations as needed.
So it sounds like manifestation isn't a magic bullet.
It's not.
It's a tool, and like any tool, it can be used effectively or ineffectively, depending on the user.
That's a great way to put it. It's all about using this tool responsibly and with a clear understanding of both its potential benefits and its potential pitfalls.
Totally. And maybe that's the most important message we can leave our listener with today.
Maybe.
But before we wrap things up, I think there's one more layer we need to peel back.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, we've explored the gendered aspects of the term manifestation, the potential benefits and pitfalls, and even the importance of belief.
Right.
But what about the role of privilege?
Now that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. We can't talk about manifestation without acknowledging the systemic factors that can influence an individual's ability to achieve their goals.
Exactly, because let's face it, not everyone starts from the same place.
Precisely factors like socioeconomic background, race, gender, sexual orientation, and ability status can all create barriers and advantages that impact a person's trajectory in life.
So while the idea of manifesting your dreams might sound empowering on the surface, it's important to recognize that certain individuals may face systemic obstacles that make it significantly harder to achieve those dreams.
Absolutely. And that's where the conversation needs to go beyond individual effort and personal responsibility.
Okay.
We have to acknowledge the systemic inequalities that exist.
Right.
And work towards creating a more equitable playing field where everyone has a genuine opportunity to thrive.
So it's not just about what you believe or how hard you work. It's also about recognizing and addressing the systemic factors that can either support or hinder your progress.
Precisely. And that requires a shift in perspective from solely focusing on the individual manifestation to embracing a more collective approach to creating a world where everyone has the resources and opportunities they need to reach their full potential.
I love that it's about moving beyond individual manifestation to collective transformation.
Exactly. And maybe that's where the true power of this concept lies.
Yeah.
Not in simply manifesting our own personal desires, but in using our collective belief and action to create a more just and equitable world for all.
Wow, that's a powerful thought to end on. But I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe it's time to give our listener a moment to process everything we've discussed and draw their own conclusions.
I agree. This is a topic that deserves careful consideration and reflection.
So, dear listener, we'll leave you with this. As you continue to ponder this concept of manifestation and its various implications, remember to think critically, question assumptions, and consider the broader context in which these ideas exist.
And don't be afraid to challenge the status quo and envision a world where manifestation becomes a force for collective good rather than simply a tool for individual gain.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into manifestation.
Okay.
We hope this exploration has sparked some new insights, challenged some assumptions, and left you with a renewed sense of curiosity about the power of belief action and collective transformation.
And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to manifest their dreams.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open. Welcome back to the deep dive.
It feels like we've really gone through like a whirlwind of ideas.
I know, right?
From defining manifestation to dissecting its pros and cons.
Yeah.
And even diving into how belief and privilege play a part.
Exactly. We've unpacked a lot.
We have.
And I'm curious for you, our listener,
Yeah.
What's been the most surprising or thought-provoking part of this deep dive so far?
I'm wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
Is there a particular point that's resonated with you or perhaps challenged a previous belief?
Well, you're thinking about that.
Okay.
Let's try to synthesize what we've covered.
All right.
What are some key takeaways for anyone who's intrigued by this whole manifestation trend?
Well, I think it's crucial to remember that manifestation isn't some magic formula.
Right.
It's more like a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool,
it
can be used for good or bad, depending on how it's wielded.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So it's not about simply declaring your desires to the universe and expecting things to magically fall into place.
Right.
But it's about putting in the effort, making conscious choices.
Yes.
Being adaptable along the way.
Absolutely. And just like you wouldn't use a hammer to fix a leaky faucet, you need to choose the right approach for each situation.
Okay.
Sometimes that might involve visualization and positive thinking. Other times it might require more practical steps and hard work.
Right. So it's about pairing intention with action.
Yes.
But it's also about understanding the systemic factors that can either help or hinder our progress, isn't it?
Exactly. We can't just ignore the realities of privilege and inequality.
Right.
It's great to encourage people to dream big and pursue their goals, but we also need to acknowledge that not everyone has the same opportunities or resources.
Yeah, that's such an important point.
It is.
It's about creating a world where everyone has a genuine shot at success, regardless of their background or circumstances.
Right. So while individual manifestation might be a good starting point, we need to move beyond that limited perspective.
Okay.
And embrace a more collective approach to creating a world where everyone can thrive.
I love that it's about using our collective belief and action to manifest a future.
Right.
Where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
Exactly. And that's a vision worth striving for, don't you think?
Absolutely. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into manifestation.
Okay.
We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity, challenged some assumptions, and maybe even left you with a few new tools for thought.
And remember, this conversation doesn't have to end here.
Right.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving to create a world where manifestation becomes a force for positive change.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open.